What's up? Welcome to today's meditation. Thank you for tuning in. Been been pretty good. I hope you've been well as well. Uh, don't really have too much to say. Today's meditation is going to be basically heart reconnection meditation. There's a lot of science that talks about the benefits of like connecting to your heart, right? And how it brings you just back down to earth. And it's so the way it's kind of weird because like I'm not a doctor, so I don't have much of an understanding of human anatomy, but I do know that the heart and the brain are connected through the spinal column. And what happens with most of us is we cut energetically, we cut that connection off right around here, right? And it's funny, as I'm saying this, I'm recognizing the main issue in life, and I'm just going to come out and say it. So you have your throat chakra right here, and for me as a kid, I always had this thing fucking hurt all the time. All the fucking time. And I never knew why, right? But I did know that like when I cried, it hurt too. And so it's funny, because literally as I'm saying this, I didn't plan on talking about this, but when we talk, right, we oftentimes filter what we're saying through our head. But for the most part, especially if we're in a conversation that we care about, you don't really think about what you're saying. You kind of just talk. And if you look at where those words come from, for me, what I noticed is for the most part they come up, right? And so it comes up, and then my mind will say yes or no, and I'll say it, right? And I think that's how most people work. But when I was a kid, I always used to get yelled at because I didn't have a filter, right? And I'm like, even as I'm saying that, my brain starts hurting because I'm like, why would I filter what I'm saying? And what I noticed is growing up, like as I got older, I noticed that a lot of people filter what they're saying. And for me, I always look at the body, right? Tony Robbins talks about the body. And, you know, there's so many people that say the body tells the truth, body language, all that type of stuff. Human connection or human communication is like 20% verbal, right? And so I always used to watch people and talk, especially when I'm talking, and recognize how their body says one thing, but their mind says another. Like their voice says another thing. And getting to the point on things is kind of difficult because, like, especially if it's a real point, because people will resist it, right? Well, we do this to ourselves too, especially with conversation, talking about our feelings, right? Letting out emotion. We filter ourselves and we kind of stuff it back down, right? What happens when you do this is you actually sever the connection between your heart and your brain, and you start living in a more sympathetic state instead of a parasympathetic state. So sympathetic is fight or flight, parasympathetic is rest and relaxation and digestion, right? And so it's basically a state of stress when your brain gets disconnected from your heart. And to me, it makes a lot of sense because I'm sitting there doing a meditation before we started, and I'm like, well, what if I just imagine, because I started this with breath because I always smoked weed, right? Still smoke weed. But the thing is like I used to use weed to decompress, but you can also just use the breath, right? Another thing you can do is use the heart. And I think what I noticed is it seemed like the heart might be like the easiest thing to use, right? And so I was just like, what if I just imagine sending love, like, because basically I have all these parts on my body that are like sore, stiff, or whatever, and I'm a guy and I'm aggressive, and so I'm always trying to like force it out, right? And so I'm like, what if I just send love to this part of my body? Like, what if I just do that? What if I keep doing the same thing I'm doing, keep breathing and all that stuff? But what if I just imagine my heart sending love? And it's like, actually, that's what you want, because you want the blood to get to that portion of the body. So I'm like, it just makes sense. Um, but to me, like as I'm talking, I'm realizing that my relationship with blood isn't necessarily one of love, right? Usually, when I saw blood, it was like my own blood after getting beat up or some shit like that, or like something happened to me. So, when you see blood, you kind of have a weird reaction, subconscious reaction to it, and so that's why I never really made that connection, right? But if you think about what we're trying to do, like your heart pumps fucking blood throughout your body. Like that's what it does. It keeps you alive. If your heart stops beating, you die, right? How many heart disease is the number one killer in the United States, right? Obesity, I think, is next. Heart disease, like people having strokes, and I think a lot of it is us knowing the truth and not admitting it, not speaking it, right? Not letting it go up here, right? I think we make our own disconnection at some point in life, and then just build on from there, right? So if you look at most people in life, typically they get to a certain point, and then their life kind of, it's not where it was, right? And if you talk to people, especially like business guys, they'll say, yeah, well, that was that time when, I had to make a decision. And I think that at that point, I think what a lot of us are doing is we're cutting off what we really want, what we really feel for the outside, right? For what our mind is telling us is real, right? And like I know I did this. Like I grew up in an abusive household, right? And so I needed to basically disconnect from my heart. They call it disassociating, right? I needed to disconnect from my heart because my heart knew the fucking truth, and my heart was telling me every day that this shit's fucking bad for you, right? But my intellect was telling me to survive. And that's kind of where you get stuck, right? Because this thing is always going to take over, right? To go down, like there are neurons in your heart. I don't know if it's more or there's a bunch in there. There's a lot in your stomach. There's, I think, a decent amount in your heart, and then in your brain as well, right? And I think that what we're doing is most people say, like, not most people, I've heard people say, oh, just follow your heart, right? Follow your intuition, follow your dreams, right? And these are all like heart-based things, like love-based. And we get to a certain point in life when basically we figure out, we think, because the world's telling us this, that we have to make a choice. You can either survive or you can follow your heart. And there's so many cases of people who followed their heart and didn't make it, right? Quote unquote, gave up. There's so many cases of people that follow their heart that most people just assume it's better to think rationally and play it safe and just take that job, just go to that school, just do that thing. Because why not? Like it helps you live a better day-to-day right now, so why wouldn't you do that, right? And I know better than anybody the repercussions of that, right? It's not, and dude, like, I'm not saying that this is wrong. Like, this is the thing. Like, I'm not making anybody wrong because it's not wrong. It's completely rational, right? But the thing is when you make that choice to disconnect, there is going back, but there's a good chance you won't, right? And we're here to fix that. So uh, that's what this meditation is supposed to help you to do. It's supposed to help you, because the thing is like it's a choice. You can't, once you disconnect from your heart, you have to make the conscious decision to go back down into it. And like for me, when I made that decision, like every time I do, it's like that's bullshit, right? But when you do it, if you give yourself like 3 seconds, you feel it, right? And so, for me, I don't fucking listen to my heart, right? Because I just know what's right. I just fucking know, right? Or at least I think I do. And I'm always trying to be of service first, right? And luckily, the world we live in, that's actually looked at as a good thing. But for me, I'm recognizing it now. It's a defense mechanism, right? Because when I grew up, if I was helping somebody out, there was less of a chance of them fucking hitting me, right? And so I'm always gonna go for just trying to fucking get on your good side so you don't punch me in the face, right? And that's how I made friends with bullies in school, all that type of stuff. But you don't realize what it does to you when you're doing that thing, right? And so that's the thing, is like, survival's good, but you don't want to focus on survival anymore, like you don't necessarily need to. So there's something else that I wanted to tell you is the heart actually has its own magnetic frequency, right? And this is something that I think they might have mentioned it in The Secret, but there's real science to it. The heart has a magnetic resonance that actually draws things to it. And you know this if you've ever fallen in love with somebody, because it doesn't matter what you say, think, or do, you're still drawn to them, right? And you're like, God damn it, I can't fucking do anything about it, right? Well, that's because your heart is magnetically attracted to this person, right? They have strong feelings for you, you have strong feelings for them. That's what pulls you to it. So they say when you're trying to manifest things, it's not going to be real until you connect it to your emotion, right? I just heard that Muhammad Ali? Yeah, Muhammad Ali, the boxer, said, if I can see it and I feel like I can achieve it, then I can, right? So if I can see it in my mind and I can believe it in my heart, I can feel it in my heart, then I can do it, right? And it's funny because Napoleon Hill said if the mind can think it or conceive it, it can achieve it, but it's only half right? It's not just about the mind, it's about the heart, because the heart is the thing that actually does the work, right? So the heart does the work of pumping through your fucking body. The brain just makes sure everything is working, right? And so the brain will give you a plan, but the heart will feed you while you're doing it, right? That's why athletes have fucking huge hearts, right? So I'm doing this because I need this, right? And so if I need this, you need this. If you're having problems getting shit done, if you're struggling in life in any way, shape, or form, most of the time it's because you disconnected from your heart, you stopped speaking truth, you stopped letting stuff come up, and you started pushing it down. And as you do that, like, I can even just feel what that did energetically, right? As you do that, it's going to be fucking uncomfortable because you have layers and 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 layers of shit, right? But the cool thing is that you don't need to sit and pick through it one by one and try and figure out what's what. If you just do the work and make the decision to connect to your heart, you can drop right in. All that shit disappears. Cool. Let's meditate. And drink some water. Before we start, we'll ask for a blessing. To the Divine Supreme Father, Divine Mother, to all the holy angels, archangels, saints, sages, spirits, entities, anybody who has some form of consciousness out there that is positively oriented, we humbly ask for your divine blessing. With that we pray. Amen. So this one's going to be interesting. Put your hands in your lap. Keep your eyes open. Take a deep breath. Let it out. Just keep following your breath. Just keep following your breath. Open your ears up. Open your eyes up. Don't look at anything in particular. Relax your eyes. Relax your eyes. Open your ears. Keep opening them. Almost feel like you're sitting back a little bit. Keep following the breath. Open your ears up. Feel your body. Feel it. So from here, what we're going to do, you already dropped into your heart, by the way. Now you're just adjusting. So the thing is there's two different frequencies. There's your heart frequency and your brain frequency. Brain frequency runs at its own level, but when it connects to the heart, it synchronizes with it. So you have to just keep dropping in, and you'll feel yourself adjusting. You might feel some pressure changes. Your ears might pop, crackle, snap. It's just you tuning in to the new frequency, and what you'll notice is you start doing weird things, like see how my neck is moving. What is actually going on is the body is readjusting itself to the tune of the heart. And so, because we're slowly transitioning to the parasympathetic nervous system, that is the rest and relaxation state. So anything that wasn't resting and relaxing, which is predominantly like your neck, your chest, stuff like that, is going to start adjusting. And remember, everything about this is going to feel like it's counterintuitive, because these frequencies basically work against each other unless your will unites them. So you don't want to use your will to overpower it, because that is the will of the brain. And so you kind of just want to keep dropping in your heart and just accept what's going on. Don't try and influence it. And as you tune in, you're going to start picking up a baseline frequency at about 4,200 megahertz, give or take. And you'll notice that this almost seems like an electronic harmonic resonance, and it might make you look at your computer or your phone or something like that and try and like figure out where the noise is coming from, that noise is actually the noise of the universe. And your heart works to tune yourself to become a receptor of it. So keep focusing on your heart. And we're just going to sit here and breathe. Let me go ahead and put our hands on our heart. You might hear the noise shift a little bit. It's just attuning to you at this point. Some people call it tinnitus. It's actually your soul speaking to you. You might have just heard the frequency increase. Open your ears up. Follow your nose. If you want to close your eyes, go ahead. If stuff comes up, just let it out. Go ahead and take a deep breath in. Hold it. Swirl it. So, for some of us, connecting to our heart can almost be a stressful thing for our body, because as you get into it, when the blood starts flowing, the toxins are basically coming out of the cells at the same time as the blood is rushing in, and so it's going to put your body into kind of a state of stress. And so while you're here, you want to use other things to get this out. So one thing is the vagal breathing. Another thing could be yoga, exercise. Once you recognize this, once you feel that you're in your heart and your body has something, you want to start doing other things, because it's you'll subconsciously make associations with your heart and feel like this is what happens every time you connect to your heart, and that's just not true. So go ahead and take another breath. Hold it. Swirl it. When I say swirl it, I mean swirl it in your stomach. Don't force it, just let it go where it feels good. And take one more deep breath. Swirl it. Let it out. From here, we're just going to put our hands on our lap and just sit with ourselves for a bit. just loving ourselves, letting our heart send love throughout our body, receiving love from the universe, from God. Just taking it in, connecting. Remember, your heart is magnetic, so you're actually going to be pulling things to you at this point. I read something amazing that says that the heart sends out waves, and the highest, longest wavelength, as far as it goes, basically, is the circumference of the earth. So just stay here. As you come into contact with your heart, you give others permission to do so with theirs. They can feel it, they can sense it, they can taste it. It's something different about you. The more you do this, the more good things will come. Alright, open your eyes. Let's give thanks to the Divine Supreme Father, Divine Mother, to all the holy angels, archangels, saints, sages, spiritual masters, especially to our teacher Yeshua, the one we call Jesus. Thank you for helping us connect to our heart, living a more fully loving life. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you. If you like this, like it, share it, subscribe. Yeah. Okay, I'll be back soon.